Hey, welcome in, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lance Lahnert. Sitting next to me is Amarillo businessman Alex Fairley. Some of you guys are familiar with the interviews we've done in the past, our conversations. Appreciate you participating with us. We always enjoy the feedback. So if you ever see us out and about and you have something else you want to talk about, we're more than willing to handle that. And just let me tell you, Alex has not seen the questions, okay? And I know you roll your eyes at that, and one guy said I was a clown show, that's not true and all that. But I just want to say, this is from my heart. These are real live questions, and we just have a man here who can give us some insight on what's going on. So I just wanted to say that. Enough with that. Let's move on, okay, Alex? Obviously, the number one question concerning, you made your announcement that you weren't running for mayor, okay? You had a lot of support with that, obviously. So the process you went through in making this decision, can you just kind of enlighten us with that today?
Yeah, I'll try to be kind of quick about it, though. I never had a feeling that I wanted to be the mayor. And so I would say if I was talking about the process, the first part of the process was me thinking, I don't want to be the mayor. And then I had somebody help me get through that by saying, you know, sometimes you do things you don't want to do. So then I moved into a phase of, let me think about how would I do this? How would I go about it? What would issues be? What do I think is possible? And I kind of thought that would maybe get me excited about it. And I did come up with some things in there that I felt like were important and relevant and doable. Still, you know, kind of didn't want to. And, you know, at the end of the day, I got to a place where I decided I can do this, I'll do it. But really, Lance, where I really came to was, and I don't know if you remember, but I said, there's one scenario where I would do it, and I didn't say what that was. But I ultimately felt like there was just somebody else who just could do it better.
All right.
And I mean, I have some different gifts, and this, you know, I'm talking about Cole. You know, that's where my mind went. And so you know, there's some things that I might do a little better than Cole, and there's a lot of things he might do better than me. But to be the mayor, I think Cole will be better. And so I went to him, and I just had that conversation with him, and I knew his hesitations, which were about time and the toll it takes and the demand of the job. And I made some commitments to Cole to help in some ways. So I'm a long ways from stepping away and just saying, sorry, I'm not doing it. Good luck with this. All that's for later. But it really simply, I think we have the best guy to be the mayor running in Cole now.
So you think you're better served not as a mayor, but still in the fight, so to speak?
I think there's a place where what I have to give is much more effective outside the political realm. I'll give you an example. In my world of being a CEO of some companies, like we just Lance, we just go and we just make decisions and we go fast. And I don't got to say, I got to give people 72 hours to have a meeting, you know, open meetings. And I can't talk to this person yet. And all that together made me feel like I just don't think it's my best world. And I think Cole operated in it really well. He has already. And so there's a lot of things like that where I so appreciated the support, but I just don't think I was the best guy to do it.
So let's move on from that then. What are you doing?
Well, I'm hoping to be, you know, involved in this, you know, upcoming election.
Right, and it's going to be a big election.
And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty involved in a couple other things that are taking up time right now, kind of between now and summer. You know, one is the legislation that's underway to keep from ever happening in the state of Texas what almost happened in Amarillo that we addressed with the lawsuit. I saw the first draft of the legislation last week. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of support. I feel like a law will get passed so that hopefully can't happen again. I'm also really involved in something that I haven't talked about yet, and that's the issue of school choice. And it's going to be a big topic in this legislative session, and I'm going to be really involved in that topic.
Not to jump in, Alex, but the school choice thing, I don't think the majority of us understand what is school choice. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so that's kind of a generic term. It's not like the official term, but it's essentially the concept that when the state gives money for education, that the principle that money should follow the kid and not go directly to the schools. So that as a parent, you can say, if the state's spending $10,000 on my kid, that kid ought to get to go wherever they want to go. And it might be this school or that school or a public school or a private school or a charter school the theory is that parents ought to get to choose, where their kids are going to go to school. And the public schools, frankly, I think it will raise their game. I don't think tons of kids leave the public schools, but I think when the public schools have to compete for those kids and the money that comes with them, I think the quality of education goes up. And that the core thing is we are not getting education in Texas right, and we got to get it right, and I think that's a way to do it.
So like in Amarillo, no matter where you lived, you could go to any school?
There's 1,000 versions of what school choice. I mean, they'll fight it out.
Yeah, I got
There'll be people on all sides of it. So who knows what the end will be? But yeah, the principle is that the money follows the kid. And parents have a choice about where to send their kids. And I think the rising tide of competition to attract kids will raise all the educational boats for our children.
And the education is the most important thing, but I'm just going to tell you, in the athletic side of it, since that's kind of my realm, you are going to see recruiting at the high school level.
No, I didn't think of
that. That is a whole nother. We'll get on that some other time. I digress. I apologize, but that will be a negative of that, in my opinion, right now. Yeah. Recruiting power schools.
Well, there are a lot of people that they're not too sure.
Let me tell you something. It's already going on, so they'll figure it out.
Recruiting.
Okay, yeah. So
we'll see what happens.
You kind of brushed over it, but there was a lot of support. And I'm not trying to brown nose you or anything like that, Alex, but there was a lot of support out there for you to run for mayor. So was that a tough decision not to run, even though you think a guy like Cole might be better fit?
It made it way harder. Like it motivated me to work harder at the decision than maybe any decision I've made. Just, it was so nice. I mean, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's nice. But it made saying no so much harder. And I know some people were disappointed, and I didn't want to do that. Ultimately, I was going to do what I thought was the right thing to do. But yeah, I couldn't possibly say enough appreciation for that, but yeah, it made the decision harder.
So on May 6th, we have the vote coming up, and for mayor and council, we're going to have a whole across the board. It's going to be new faces in new slots, new positions. Real game changer for Amarillo politics. And before we get into the specifics of these elections, which we may do in a later interview, I have a twofold question for you, if you don't mind. Number one, in your opinion, what kind of leadership, Alex, needs to be voted in to best serve Amarillo in our current times?
Okay, could I hear the second question too?
Sure.
The first
what are the top issues? You know what I mean? Okay. We want to know. You don't have to rank them necessarily, but what are some of the top issues that need to be addressed by the new mayor and the new council?
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's all good stuff. So could I just... I'll answer your question, but I would like to comment on something you said in the lead up to the question. You said game changer, all these people. Like, Lance, I think that's the story right now of the day. A massive change may be coming to Amarillo. And I don't mean 4 new people or 5,
Yeah.
I mean a lot of people in Amarillo have decided they want to be in on the process. I think I saw a headline somewhere where the second most ever in the history of Amarillo are running for seats.
Yeah, right now I think it's 18 or 19.
Okay, so I didn't know the number, but I just know it's a lot. And I think what's happened is I think the lawsuit, I think we're going to look back someday and say, okay, people who were with me, the lawsuit was good. It stopped $260 million of debt that we didn't want. Okay, fine. But I think a way bigger thing is that I think that summer issue took the lid off of Amarilloans saying, "Oh boy, we have a voice," and I think that's why you're seeing all these people, and most of them have never run for anything. Few have, and they're Lance. I want to be careful how I say this, but they're just normal people. and in the past, how the system works is people connected to people, usually with money or influence, go and say, if you're one of those people, Lance, would you support me? Knowing that if I get that group support, I have a massive advantage in winning because I have money. And we got a lot of people, frankly, with really no money. And they're not going to those people in general, if you have, to say, could I have your money? And I think it's the most exciting. Like, who wins? Who wins? And I think we have some races that have the potential to be out of balance, and maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening is it's very, very exciting. Like, I feel like Amarilloans are about to get Amarillo, kind of back. And so I'll answer your second question.
Yeah, the issues.
My answer to the second question leads to the first. We have some issues. We have a hard time, getting permits and inspections done in this city. And in my opinion, it's a number one economic inhibitor of our city. It's a bottleneck. We can't get stuff done. And I think there's issues about how to deal with that. But I don't think the issues are the issue.
Not to butt in, is this in towns like a Midland, like a Lubbock, is this not an issue?
It's not. And I couldn't say every town because I don't know. I'm just curious. But I'm going to tell you, I have talked to a lot of people that say it's harder in Amarillo than it is in Lubbock. It's harder than it is in Austin. It's harder than it is in Fort Worth. Yeah. Bigger cities with, you would think, more bureaucracy. I was standing behind a guy in Starbucks about a month ago that said, I'm from Houston. I build all over this place. I'm leaving Amarillo. I can't get anything done up here. Wow. I can get it done in Houston, Texas, way quicker, faster. And I've heard that from a lot of people. That's an issue. But I don't think the issues are the issue. I think your first question is the issue. Like, what kind of leadership do we need? I'll tell you what I think Amarillo is screaming for. They want a city council that they trust. And don't take that further to be something about anybody that I'm saying. But I don't think our community, and I think the lawsuit took the lid off a big old can of worms that said we don't feel like everything's always on the up and up. And there's a group of people who kind of think they ought to be in control, and they just are anyway. And if we vote against something, they're doing it anyway. And I think we got to get trust back. And I think I think we probably are. And when we get that back, they'll figure out the issues. And I'm not inclined, I have some thoughts about them, but I think the issue is all the people who are saying, you know what, I got a voice now, I'm getting involved. I think it's very exciting. I don't want to act like everyone wasn't honest. I think a lot of times, all of them were at times, but they weren't always. And I think when we get that back, I think people are going to be shocked what can happen in Amarillo.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's talk about the mayorship, if you don't mind. The applications filed for place on the ballot were due just this last week. There are 6. We have Frida Powell and Cole Stanley, who are former council members. We have Tanya C. Winston, Jeffrey McGonigal, and I apologize, Jeffrey, if I'm butchering your name, not any disrespect there, Sam Burnett, and Don Collins. You've already gone on record stating that you support Cole Stanley. Why?
I really have gotten to know Cole, better, really since the lawsuit, and I didn't know him really that well kind of before that. I've seen this guy just have the courage to stand up for what he thought was right in the face of ridicule and condescension and frankly not being treated that well. And I'm just impressed with his leadership and his style and his values. And I think the mayor, place of the 5, I think it's the most important. And while I'm willing to kind of let the others play out a little bit before I weigh in, I'm not willing on that one. We have, I think everyone agrees who's Cole's biggest opponent is there. It's a person who was for all that. And in fact, after the judge ruled against them 9 times, decided to appeal it unapologetically, and who followed a mayor, I think 99% of the time. Like, I'm not sure if that person is her or the mayor. For all those reasons, I just think Cole will be the best guy. And so I just kind of came out from the beginning. And it's another thing that, people who have a voice, I think they just need to be honest about where they are. I feel like there's been a lot of, managing the process where people don't, kind of aren't willing to be out front about where they are. And I'm just always going to be. So I'm with Cole. I think he'll be an amazing mayor.
And this may not be a fair question, but looking ahead in a crystal ball, and I'm just asking for your opinion on this, Alex. We're going to have all these new faces, all these new personalities who have never been in these roles before. So the next year, before they find their groove, should we be concerned with what is going to happen on that council?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that's a good question and that a lot of people will relate to. But Lance, I think we overthink like what we need on that council. The council is essentially, it was one reason why I decided it wasn't the best place for me. The council is essentially a board of directors. Really, it's like a board of directors. The city manager is the CEO. And the city manager is supposed to run the city. Now, for the last 5 years, the mayor ran the city, my opinion. And so I think that council will fit in. Cole's experience and leadership will be fine. There's a couple people running who have some super experience. And so I don't think we'll miss anything. And to be honest with you, listen, I think less government is better. So if people like stutter and stammer around for a year and don't get a bunch of, crazy ideas, I think we might be better off for it. So I don't think we lose anything. I think the advantage of a fresh, new people that aren't into politics coming in far outweighs the fact that they'll have a little bit of a learning curve.
And this may be out of your realm, but this has always been personally on me. But one of my appreciations for these jobs is they don't get paid diddly squat. If you do the hours they put in, it's pennies on the hours that they make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that needs to be said. But is there any way these people could be rewarded financially more, or is that just the way politics is going to work in Amarillo?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I think
I realize it's
one is I don't think you could reward them enough.
Okay.
But also you kind of want people who aren't doing it, for the money.
Yeah.
Kind of like I don't know what the thinking would be.
Fair.
I've never thought about that much. So, that and like single member districts or the way we do it, like I think all those things could be argued forever. I don't spend that much time thinking about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want it out there that let's applaud
they work
these
for
people.
Nothing.
Yeah,
I agree.
They
when I've spent some time with Cole as I was trying to say, Cole, I think it's you, and knowing the hours that he and all of them put in.
Yeah.
They don't do it. They for sure don't do it for the money.
All right, Alex, I got to throw this one at you. Last time I failed to get you to talk about the next steps for the Civic Center. Fair or not, you're because of our first interview, you're going to be associated Alex Civic Center. All right, that's part of it. That's okay. So let me try this again. Is there a next step on the Civic Center situation in Amarillo?
So listen, I'm not going to be running, anything.
Right.
But in the process I went through to think about what I would do as the mayor, I'm going to tell you what I've concluded. Number one, I don't think the Civic Center is even a top 5 issue in our town. I would set it aside and clean some things up and get people's trust in the process again. And if that took a year or 2 years, I would take time to do it. I think there's some bureaucracy and I think there's a lot of inefficiency. I think there's some mixed up priorities in the way our city is run, and I would stop and I'd work on that. I wouldn't worry about a Civic Center. When it comes time to do a Civic Center, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2. Again, I don't think it's this panic. We're not going to be a real city if we don't get that done at all. But when it comes back up, Lance, I think we need to go back to here's what happened the last time. A small group of people decided we want to build a big old Civic Center. And then they went back and started a process that was always going to get there. And because they all knew what the answer was going to be, whether it was the the group of task force of people or the studies they did. They were all like, this is where we're getting. That's why the mayor hired the head of Amarillo Matters the second time to figure it out. Like they didn't, they were always going to get to it again, which is where they got to with the 260. We got to go back to the beginning, and we got to literally clean the slate and say, we're not predicting the answer. Let's go through the process to figure out, like, how do we do this well in our city and right without anyone already knowing what they want the answer to be. And I think that will be something. I think it will cost a fraction of what people, listen, they didn't take a good look at whether maybe we can remodel what we have to some degree. And the whole thing was, well, we can't make the one we have 50 feet, so that the idea's out. That was just like, no, we want to build something new. So I think we have a process with integrity. I don't think it takes that long. And instead of sending $500 million for everything, I don't know that we need to spend even $150. But again, we shouldn't decide it beforehand. And I think when we do that, we'll all get to a place that Amarillo will be, oh, okay, we like this. This feels good, and we could get something done.
In our future conversations, do you want to break down and maybe look at some of the elections by place?
Yeah, I hadn't told you this, but I would like. I talked to one candidate on. A lot of these candidates have called me. And one thing I got to do.
What do they ask you?
They say, Mr. Farrell, I would like to see if I could maybe get your support. And like I might be on. They most don't want to come meet. I haven't met with any of them. I talked to some of them on the phone. One of them works for one of my companies. I didn't know her. I'd never met her. I was going to answer her call back. And one of the things I want to be careful not do is do what I've been frustrated has been done, where a few people with the money decide who's getting in, and then maybe try to influence those people. So I haven't met with anybody. I've talked to some people on the phone, but one person said to me, Alex, one of the things that's a challenge is I've called people all over town and said, could I come talk to your group? And they say, yeah, we're going to do this on this date, and everyone's going to get 1 minute. And this person said, I can't do anything with 1 minute. I'm going, and I thought, you know what? We could get these people a lot more minutes. And what I would like to do is think about having a place-by-place interview where I don't take the questions anymore. Like you and I do the questions.
Yeah.
And we interview these folks in a relevant, real way. I have some questions I would love to ask some of these people. And I don't know if you're open, but
No, I'm open. I have a lot of questions I'd like to ask them, but I think your insight would be really
maybe
respected.
place by place, if we could do something that takes
place one has 7. You know what I mean? So that would be an interesting.
Yeah, we'd have to figure it out. But I would love. It's a bunch of people, and they don't have tons of money. To run all kinds of commercials. So we need to find a way to get these people in front of Amarillo, and so they can say, you know what? And then what do they think they can think? But
and also, fair or not, the commercials are brief, and then if they do get an interview on television, it's edited and it's 20 seconds, a soundbite.
Yeah.
So this would be able to enlighten Amarillo with their true, honest perspective on how they want to change Amarillo or help Amarillo. I think it'd be good.
Okay, so you're
committed. I'm in. Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to ask Alex one more. Is there anything that I haven't asked you today that is? I know your mind spins pretty fast. So is there anything on there that I haven't asked you today you'd like to talk about?
No. I'm excited about what's kind of happening in these next. It's only 90 days.
I know.
It's only 90 days.
It's a sprint now.
I'm excited that I think there's a small group that has had too much influence and control, and they should be involved, and I'm sure they will be, but I think the landscape has changed, and there'll be people getting elected that maybe I wouldn't have picked. It doesn't matter. We're gonna, I think, about to have the most fair, balanced process we've ever had in our history. And if I had lost the lawsuit and that happened, I might have been okay with that. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alex, for your time today, and we thank you for listening in and checking us out. Like I said earlier, if you would like to discuss anything we've talked about, you see us on the street or wherever in Amarillo, and about, we're more than willing to chat it up. You know what I mean? We're very approachable. So you have a great day, and look forward to talking to you next time.